Welcome to today's exciting episode, where we're joined by Lez Yeoh, the pioneer CEO and co-founder of Clevero. At the helm of this innovative company, Les is reshaping the landscape of business technology with a focus on low-code solution. I'm quite particularly intrigued about that, and I think it's such a powerful solution at the moment. Today, we're set to delve into the conversation with Les that promises to be enlightening as it is inspiring, exploring the world of low-code platforms and the future of business management. Liz, thanks for joining us in today's show. I guess what we normally try to do is learn a bit more about your origin story. How did you get about starting Cleveroo, but also in a space that's quite innovative, which is the low code space. For a lot of people, they're thinking about, oh my God, code, it's so technical. So it'd be wonderful to just hear your story about like how you came up with the idea, what made you start it, and then also sharing about have you built up an international workforce as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all, PJ. So quick background about me. Obviously, I came from a tech consulting background where we specialized a lot in automating processes and end-to-end business processes for some large businesses. Essentially, on the side, sort of moonlighting, I started to dabble into coding a bit more. And I had a few projects where I built some platforms from the ground up. And then I essentially found that I was doing the same stuff over and over again. And I was like, well, this is frustrating for me because it was, quite boring. But then I thought, why can't customers do this for themselves? Why couldn't they know what they want, they know the feels that they want. Why can't they just go and build it themselves? And I sort of took the approach and the inspiration a little bit from Apple and the iPhone, or the iPod, sorry, the 1,000 songs in your pocket. And I sort of thought, well, why can't any business owner or business go build a platform from the ground up themselves? And sort of that's where the journey started. And, we built little bits and pieces, and then that's sort of just where it's grown.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, one of the things I noticed was that you focused on a couple of key industries, whether it's the NDIS industry, the consulting and aged care. Were you able to see similarities, and that's why you focused on the segmentation, or how did your thinking shape up in who would this problem be solved for?
Yeah, we really started to focus. Our journey sort of started off looking at a range of different industries. We started off looking at the clinical space, like dietitians, massage therapists, when in our early stages. And we found that their manual process of having to, try to book appointments, send out reminders, keep all their notes in one place was quite disjointed. And then as we've sort of grown and matured a bit as a business, we've identified several businesses that really focus a lot on paper or running their business on Excel spreadsheets. And we found that's a huge pain point. So in terms of those industries, NDIS, government run, we've got mechanics. And the best thing about our platform is we're industry agnostic, because it's no code. It doesn't take us the 10 months or 2 years to build a platform. We can sort of point and click, decide what we need to build, and, we're up and running within, 6 weeks.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think what would be really nice for you to unpack is what is no code or low code, because I think people aren't aware of the real opportunity here, which low code really allows users to automate and streamline without having that technical background.
Yeah, I think in the history of sort of technology of where it's sort of come from, I'm going to show my age now, like 20 years ago or so, you had the big players like, SAP, Oracle, those huge players. And a lot of the small businesses couldn't afford those platforms. But their other alternative really was on-premise software, which wasn't really agile and could move quick enough. They'd submit a support ticket, and it might take months and months for any change to happen. I think we fast forward, maybe 10 years ago, SaaS platforms started to explode. You had all these different platforms that off the shelf you could get pre-built for your industry, which was great. But I think the no-code, low-code side of things now is we know what we want and we're used to what we're getting off the shelf, but we want to also be able to tweak it. We want to be able to adjust it really quickly, and then we want to be able to tell it what we want it to do. So rather than having to go historically to go offshore or find a development team to build it for you, now you can go inside the platform, design it yourself, point and click, decide how you want your business to run. And I think that's the power of it, is instead of having to pay your thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and waiting 6 months for something to be built, now you can get it done within a day and do it yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's so important, especially, if there's audits happening or if there's any things that you want to monitor, especially when the business is growing quite rapidly, you want to make sure the system's there. And I think the only way you can really do that is having the capabilities in place where you've pretty much built up a process that can be replicated so that all the checks are done. I mean, you probably saw the shift in a lot of businesses in their own digital transformation across various industries, particularly around COVID to now. I mean, in your experience, I think I was reading about how Cleveroo was able to save businesses over, thousands of hours in manual entry work. But has there been any key significant transformations that you've really seen with some of the clients that you've worked with?
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is it's a common story. Not exactly the same, obviously, but I would say one of the biggest ones was a client that they had, I think, about 10 or 12 staff at the time that were literally monitoring emails. And this business, basically what they did was they would be doing claims on behalf of the individual, like you or I, submitting those claims off to banks and financial institutes to say, hey, we're owed some money back. And what they would have to do, obviously, to do that, you needed to capture identification, signatures for approval, and authorization. They would then need to forward that information onto the financial institutes. Now, this company were literally doing all of this manually through emails, cutting and pasting, asking for this information, sending a document to get it signed, copying and pasting a template, changing the name, and they had thousands and thousands of claims going at one time. As soon as they came onto our platform, we eradicated all of that manual copying and pasting. Everything was automated. As soon as something changed, emails would go out, and their business transformed. Not only did they manage to essentially save on staff costs by reducing their staff, but they were able to be more efficient and able to, focus and essentially go and get more customers in a much faster way.
They're pretty much a consultant speaking with the client to figure out which areas they can automate. Is that how it works, or how would a client be thinking or shaping their own systems?
I think that's a really good question. In my experience, I think they need a consultant. The main reason being is they're busy running their own business. And when you start to grow and scale, you don't really have the time to put into making a system work for you the way you need to. I think if you're really small and micro, sure, you've got a bit more time. But as you reach scale of, anywhere from 5 to 15 staff and more, you don't have the time. You're busy putting out fires and things like that. So I think the best way is to engage a consultant or a partner. And this isn't whether it's on Clevero, it's on any platform. It's consult a partner, map out your processes, know where your real pain points are. And I guess also identify what are the main things that you need to solve now versus what can be pushed down the track. That's what I would say.
Okay. And then I guess, one of the things that's obviously trending that's to be honest, everyone's mind, a lot of people, I think a lot of corporates are quite heavily invested in this whole AI space. I think I think it's all the way up to the CEO where they form committee groups to figure out how can they integrate AI into their business. And that's also similar to some of our clients as well, who's pretty much thinking about, look, AI is going to be here. We've got to figure out how can we pretty much make it a seamless process where we're adapting, we're at the forefront for innovation. I mean, what's your take on how businesses can stay ahead of the curve and their approach to AI and the new technologies that's rapidly evolving?
Oh, big question. Firstly, AI is here. It's here to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah.
It is amazing at the amount of efficiency gains that you can get with it. In terms of how I think businesses can stay ahead of the curve, I think it's like with any innovation, you pretty much just need to roll your sleeves up
Yeah.
and get your hands dirty, I guess, and
Mm.
see how it can apply to your business. So,
Yeah.
I can only go from ours. We use AI in our business now. We use it to,
Mm.
it's actually in our product. So our product,
Yeah.
some of our customers are able to generate emails using AI,
Okay. Lovely.
and
Yeah.
give it some prompts.
Yeah.
We use it today with how we potentially write code. So a lot of our
Mm.
developers might run into a bug or an issue, and they
Okay.
go and put it in and go, why is this causing an error? It
Mm.
leads to a lot of efficiencies, I
Mm.
think. And I think in terms of businesses out there that are contemplating how will it affect them, how can they use it?
Mm.
I think it depends on which industry you're in. I think industries that are going to get really heavily hit by that are the ones that do things like, copywriting,
Yeah.
graphic design, things like that. But I would also say I've seen AI generate code that we might use,
Yeah.
but the code is also wrong sometimes,
Mm.
and the code is
Yeah.
sometimes needs a bit of tweaking. So I think
Mm.
having the expertise of understanding what is good and what is bad, no matter what industry
Mm.
you're in,
Yep.
is a big part to play.
Mm.
The other thing I would say is know where your data is being stored and what it's being used for. So be
Yep.
very careful when choosing your platforms that you're going to use.
Yep.
And don't just do AI just for the sake of doing AI.
Mm.
It's like any innovation. Make sure you solve a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sort of my take on AI.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's still, I believe at the moment, it's still co-pilot, but who knows when the roles are reversed. But yeah, definitely interesting, especially around the coding piece where the AI is able to do a decent job, obviously with a lot of inputs from, I guess, people at the moment and a lot of revision. Um, I guess talking about development and coding, you've got a pretty large or a decent size of workforce overseas, whether it's Nepal to Philippines. I mean, it'll be good to understand what's been some of your best practices or your learnings in leading teams, especially remotely.
Great question again. Uh, I'll start, I guess, with the journey of Nepal. I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've had a bit of experience managing remote teams.
yeah.
I think I was telling you a bit before that
Yes,
we started. So
yeah,
um, I found my first Nepalese developer on Upwork, so as a
yeah,
freelancer,
yeah,
and I tested him out, and he did an amazing job. And I offered him a job not too long after that to
yeah,
be one of our first full-time developers.
mm,
Um, and that was great when our team was small back then. And then he obviously went off and got a scholarship overseas.
yeah,
But before he left, he actually introduced me to a range of other developers
mm,
that he knew,
yeah,
and through that connection, that's sort of grown. Um, the challenges. Let me go through a few challenges I've found. I think time zone
yeah,
is definitely a challenge depending on
mm,
the time zone. So if you're choosing a remote team, an absolute must is you need to have a crossover to your business day.
yeah,
Um, so there's a big reason why I don't use many offshore developers over in
mm,
Europe. Just that the time
yeah,
zone difference is
mm,
too much.
yeah,
Um, I'd say Philippines and Nepal are really good time zone
yeah,
differences.
yeah,
Um, Other challenges, understand the culture.
mm,
Um, don't try to go in and go that my culture is the best culture.
yeah,
You need to get over there. Um,
mm,
I left this too late. I went over to
mm.
Nepal. Mind you, COVID hit, but
Okay,
I went over to Nepal for the first time in 2022.
okay,
Um,
nice.
my plan was to actually go. I had my flights booked in
Yeah, yeah,
2020,
yeah,
and COVID hit, and we all went into lockdown, and I couldn't get over
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But getting over there for the first time really opened my eyes to the culture, how they work, how they function, what's actually important to them. And that goes a long way. I would say always treat your team, and it's common sense, right? But sometimes you meet companies that don't do it this way. Is everyone on your team are people, so treat them with respect, treat them the same, because at the end of the day, they want to do a good job, they want to achieve good things, and things like that. So I think growing the team, recruitment can be hard. Referrals, we play a big part, but we also now do a lot more screening in terms of quality of skills. So if you can do your, good technical questions, if you're hiring for technical people, or give them some trial tasks to do. Don't be afraid to fire fast. So if you hire the wrong person and you get a gut feeling after a few months that it's the wrong person, just cut them loose straight away. It's no point. It's not going to be good for you or for them. And I'd say trust. Trust is a huge one. So when you're working remotely, trust is straight away questioned because you can't see them, you can't talk to them. So we put there straight away. Our first, I meet with every single staff member that we hire, no matter where they are in the hierarchy, and I sort of give the same spiel. It's like, trust, you've got my trust. Don't lose that. The way you keep my trust is open communication. If you need to go see a doctor, go see a doctor, but make sure you tell people about it. If you're not well and you need to take a sick day, take a sick day. If you're not going to hit a timeline, don't be afraid to say, I'm not going to hit that timeline. The worst thing you can do is have zero communication. And I say, no communication is the worst communication. So they're sort of some of the quick learnings I've had from working with a remote team.
And then, one of the things that a lot of businesses, I mean, whether it's Australia or anywhere in the world, to be quite frank, and I guess that's why there's been a bit of a push around getting people to come to the office. I mean, how have you been dealing with people working remotely where you can't really see the results that, they may be working towards, or activities? Because, I mean, there's one element that's the activities, but there's also the results part. Given that it's very hard to see what's actually happening at their own desktops, how have you been managing that? Because I think for a lot of companies, there's a strong fear around, employees maybe, chilling out versus them working properly. But then obviously employees are saying, we're working our asses off. you got it the other way around. But it is a general strong concern for a lot of leaders is, are they working, are they not? So it'd be nice to hear your point of view on leading such teams, especially as they're working remotely.
Yeah, it's a very tough one to manage, I won't lie. How we handle it is we're very much remote, results-based company. So we talk about measures and expectations. So again, everybody that gets their own tasks or things that they need to get done, we set the expectation of when this is expected to get done by, and we measure them against that. So I think if you set clear guidelines, and if you're results based, I guess my question is, if you say I need X to be done by this date, do you care whether they're working in the office, from their home, on a beach? Do you care whether they're going to be working 9 to 5 their time, 9 to 5 our time, or at midnight their time? If they get it done by the due date that you set them, does it really matter? If that's not that's a big leap of faith for some people. Other things that we've done, we do have an office over in Nepal where our team will go to. We don't expect them to be there 5 days a week, so they can work from home certain days. But again, it's back to results, and if they don't hit their results, we're going to know about it. There's something else I was going to talk about their results. It'll come back to me later.
Okay, so I'm sure it'll come back. I mean, you touched a bit based on culture. I mean, given that you're overseas, and I guess you'll have very limited amount of opportunities to go back to Nepal. I think it might be quite impractical for you to go Nepal and see this team every second month. But how are you embedding the culture? Because it sounds like you've got a pretty strong lens on what kind of culture you want, which is a focus on transparency. Being able to be openly communicative around timelines and really creating a psychological safe environment for people to speak up.
Absolutely. So the culture part is big. I think there's good about both cultures of how you go about it. We go back. Well, we try to go back as a company once every quarter. So it's not me going back every 3 or 6 months. It's I'm sending somebody else of my team over there as well.
Yep.
But that's because that's building culture of it's not just me they're seeing other people from Australia going there.
Yep.
And there's a benefit they're going over there and seeing what it's like, so that when they come back, they understand the communication piece. They understand that individual who has to travel 1.5 hours on 3 different public buses to get to the office in peak hour traffic in Nepal. They can understand that, how much it costs to go out for a meal versus those different things.
And the family obligations.
And the family obligations. So
and the holidays.
Well, we're in the middle of one now, aren't we?
Yeah. Because I got a client, and they're just like in Nepal, do people work? Because I'm sure there was a holiday last week. I was like, that's just they celebrate everything, like Nepal holiday, English holiday, whichever holiday. There is. Yeah.
I would say this 2 to 3 week period every year is the worst.
Okay. Yeah. But I'm sure that everyone's having fun, and I think a part of work. There was a lot of neuroscience around this piece, which was it's important to work hard, but when employees take time off, when they come back, they're more productive. And I guess it goes back to some of the items you were talking about, which is really rethinking what does work look like for a lot of people. And I think for a lot of people, it's not that 9 to 5. It's more about as long as you deliver the specific results and you're working hard towards growing the company in a partnership. That's what a win-win would look like for both the employee and the business leaders as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great point. The trust is a big thing, and the generations are changing now. That's what I found is, like I can tell you that 5 of my team are on leave this week, and they've gone on a big trek up into the mountains, and they've been sending me some great photos. And it looks majestic. It's so good. It's, they've gone off together as a group, they're friends, but that's good for the soul. And I think one thing that COVID really hit back on is, what are we doing all this for when we're stuck at home, as opposed to what's the impact that we can give to others? And in my case, Clevero, what's the impact that we can give to other businesses? But at the core of that are your people. And your people need to be enjoying what they do at work, or they need to feel that they're part of a journey. They can't just feel like they're just part on they're just part of that wheel where you're trying to get them to do stuff. You need to make them feel that they're involved. This is my take on it, right? And when we've got a rule in place. If you need a mental day off, take it. No questions asked. You don't need to explain it. You just need to say, I don't feel right. I'm just taking the day off. Done. Right? And that's good for the soul.
Totally agree. And talking about good for the soul, it's it's been a while since you've built up a Cleveroo, and I'm sure there's been the ups and the downs. For you personally, like what's gotten you through the hard moments? Because for any entrepreneur, every CEO, there's been for pretty much the majority of people, there's been a moment where they've questioned themselves: is this the right path forward? Am I making the right step, and what's the best option for me to grow this to the level that I want to grow to? So for you, what's really been the driving force on your end?
So yes, there's been a lot of ups and downs. I won't
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
I think the driving force for me was, and back in the early days, there were times where I wanted to throw the towel in and sort of go,
Yeah.
well, is this for me? The question I asked myself is, could I see myself doing anything different?
Yeah.
And the answer was no. That's the first
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I think I asked myself what I really enjoyed doing,
Mm.
and seeing the impact that the platform has for businesses now,
Yeah.
um, that brings a real smile to my face because
Yeah.
that vision has come to life now for our customers.
Mm.
For those that are out there that are questioning that and might be going through ups and downs, I would say go for a walk.
Mm.
Um, Not because it's going to solve any problem that you might be facing straight away, but going for a walk has never meant that the problem doesn't get solved, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It gives you some
Yeah.
space, it gives you some time.
Yeah.
Um, and I would also say it's never the end. Like,
Mm.
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how big or small the decision is or
Mm.
whatever's on your mind, it's not the end of the world because
Yeah.
you still got your health, you still got friends, you still got
Mm.
family. And I know in business, one of the biggest fears are, money and whether
Yeah.
you've, going to run out of money, all those sorts of things.
Mm.
Um, but at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen is you shut down your business and
Mm.
go get a job.
Yeah.
And, like, I think we make bigger things than it really is. But if we strip it
Mm.
all back to its real simplicity,
Mm.
it's, am I enjoying it still? And if you are,
Mm.
keep going.
Yeah.
If
Mm.
you're really not enjoying it and it's been a prolonged time where you've really not enjoying it, there's nothing wrong in just quitting and
Yeah.
starting something new.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. But I think before quitting, you should kind of ask other people what's the take on it, because sometimes the reason that it's not working the way you want it to might be the small tweaks that could totally transform the whole business as well. Um, we touched a bit on the personal element. I mean, what I'd like to potentially dive a bit more into is, as a CEO, it's so challenging. Like literally, you are the go-to man for everything in the sense of you've got multiple team members, seeking your attention. You've got to manage your clients, but also ultimately, you are the end person that pretty much the clients rely on, which is if things aren't happening, it all falls down to you. Like, and I think the weight of responsibility is quite heavy, more from a reputation point of view. I think as a CEO, you want to do a good job. You generally, because when I look at Cleveroo, one of the things I get a sense of is the focus on customer centricity and the focus on customer, making sure that they're being well served. So for you, how are you balancing, I guess, growing the business, making sure everything's running smoothly, while I guess giving time for yourself as well?
Um, don't have the answer for you. It's
Okay.
I think you're right in that we're very customer centric. We care a
Yeah.
lot about our customers, and that's something that is close to me. That's part of my DNA, and that's what I
Yeah.
like to filter down to my team.
Mm.
I think in terms of how you juggle it all, I would say it's a simple thing of. No, I'll give you what I tell my team actually is
Yeah. Sure.
I say to them, I say, how do you think the customer is going to feel?
Mm.
So when you're writing a reply, or whether you're picking up the phone and giving them a phone call, or
Yeah.
not doing that, how do you think they're going to feel?
Mm.
So somebody sends through a support case and we might not be able to get back to them or even look at it for another day, let's
Mm.
say. I said, how do you think they're going to feel if you don't reply to them at all and only maybe start looking at it a day later? Or how do you think they're going to feel if you send them an email and say, look, we've got your support case, something is really urgent coming up, and we're not going to be able to look at it until tomorrow. I hope that's okay. And this is back to that communication piece, right? No communication is the worst communication.
Yep.
So
Totally agree.
and that's sort of how I'm trying to build that culture internally.
Yeah.
Sorry, the first part of the question was about balancing everything, was it? Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah, just balancing everything. Yeah, just because
um,
you've got family commitments, you've got friend
oh yeah,
commitments, you got your own personal commitments as well.
right. Definitely set boundaries. So a few things that I have done is I've deleted email off my phone, and I've
Okay.
deleted my chat program off my phone as well. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong, I install it every now and again, but for the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
part, they're deleted off.
Okay.
Um, Notifications, if you've got them and you can't live without them, turn your
Mm.
notifications off.
Yeah.
Um, I've got two young boys, and I just started coaching my young son's basketball team.
Oh, nice.
That's been really good.
Congratulations. Yeah.
That's been really good. Thank you. Because when you go and watch them play sport, you can
Yeah.
still be on your phone. You can still be taking phone calls.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
you're the coach,
Yeah.
you can't have your phone there,
Yeah. You
and there's
can't. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
ifs or buts. You're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. You're the it
um,
man. So yeah. Yeah.
look, it's a balance. I think communication is again back to key. Like, is
Yeah.
with your partners or whoever it is, they need to understand it. They need to be supportive
Mm.
of you,
Yeah.
and your journey that you're taking.
Yeah.
Um, but I also don't forget about them.
Mm.
Put time in the calendar. Today I'm taking the day off. I'm gonna just spend the day with you guys. Let's, as a family, just take the day off school, take the day off work, do something this weekend. But it's
Yeah.
about being present. You can say you take that time, but if you're not there mentally,
Mm.
there's no point you being there at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Totally agree. And I think when we look at our memories, it's like a lot of the memories that we end up remembering are the moments that have a strong emotion attached to it. It's not the hours, but really the level of connection. And just in regards to communication, the general feel I'm getting at the moment, especially with a lot of emerging countries, is that for because I guess they're quite foreign to being direct. Because I think my general feel is that um, they often communicate to reduce any tension between people. So I think it does need a bit of training and a bit of role modeling around just being transparent and really creating that safety net where they feel like, whatever they want, they can speak up about it, and that communication allows both parties to find a solution to what everyone wants. And I think that is a game changer because the last thing you want is someone not telling you that something's about to blow up and you're not being
yes.
prepared for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a key bit of foundation that anybody who's wanting to work with remote teams and things like that
Yeah.
is of the utmost importance. Is setting that, trying to break that barrier down to say,
Mm.
please be as open as you can be. The more information that we have, the better informed we can be,
Yeah.
um, and the better decisions we as a business can make. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree. And then, I think we're coming to the end of the podcast. What would really good to hear your point on, um, as just a words of wisdom is, as you've grown this business to where it is at the moment, like what's been like the top three things that have really helped you succeed?
Top three.
Yeah, so any items that's helped you succeed, whether it's the mindset or the business growth strategies that have helped you, grow the business as well.
Yeah, I would say trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you got into that in whatever business you get into. You've gotten into it for a reason because
Yeah.
you've got experience in that, and you trust your instinct. Quick decisions. I think as an entrepreneur, have to make thousands of decisions every day.
Yeah.
Um, the quicker you make them, just get it done.
Yeah.
So one rule of thumb I always made was if it's not going to kill the business, just make the decision on the spot. It's
Yeah.
done, and then move on. If it's going to potentially kill the business, I usually sleep on it and give it a day,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're just mentally just overloaded.
Yeah.
Um, and ask for advice. Get help. I ask a whole range of different advisors, business owners, staff members, everybody just for their thoughts and opinions. They might not be right. I might not agree with them, but having different opinions and thoughts helps form your own ideas and opinions on how things should be done. Yeah.
Yep, yeah, you definitely agree in the last. But I think that's where the innovation comes in, is getting different perspectives and really, challenging your ideals. Obviously, sometimes, you don't want to hear it going like, bloody hell, just get on with it. But I think,
Look,
yeah,
if you
but
don't agree with me, I don't want to talk to you. No.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, but I think ultimately growth happens in any scenarios where there's tension, and I think having different points of view is very important for new ideas
Yeah,
to come.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Les, for your time, and it was just so insightful to just hear your journey across. When you built the business up, to you managing global teams, to some of your foundations around the focus on customer centricity as well. And then, look forward to connecting. Hopefully, if you're ever in Nepal, always happy to connect as well.
Sounds great, PJ. Thank you so much for having me. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you.